Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert. You're listening to Incredible Life Creator Podcast. My guest today is Nadene Joy. Miss Nadene Joy is a top global advisor, leadership and business coach, former petroleum exploration geologist executive, CEO of Nadene Joy Consulting, founder of the Global Movement of Hope, chair of the Global Lead to Impact Summit, member of the International Society of Female Professionals, Ambassador of Human Rights and Peace, and is a CEC Global Ambassador. She is recognized internationally as a top woman in leadership, known as the Changemaker, who has been featured on many iconic media outlets, such as USA Today, CBC, and FOX, and has worked with thousands of clients internationally and advised personally with some of the most prolific leaders of our time. Nadene Joy is also the recipient of the TISGS Award of Business Excellence in Social Impact, Women of Substance Award from the St. Mother Theresa University, is a prestigious recipient of the Top 40 Global CEO of the Year Award, and is a global ambassador for human rights and peace. Welcome to the podcast, Nadene.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kimberly. It's great to be here today.
Yes, and as I'm reading your bio, I'm thinking, when does she sleep?
Well, some days more than others, I guess, to be honest. Yeah.
Exactly. So just so people can get to know you on a personal basis, tell us your story, how you started out and how you got to be doing all these things.
Yeah. So I grew up in a single parent family. We didn't ever have very much, but fast forwarding quite a few years, I had actually started my career as a geologist, and that's what I thought I was going to do with my life. We have our parents and our grandparents, that go through their careers and they end up, in one career for 30 years and then they retire. That's kind of the vision that I saw for myself as a geologist. And I'm just going to go back for a moment because there's a part of my story that is quite important that I wanted to share with everybody on how I got to be a geologist, and then also how I got to be an advisor and a coach to some of the top leaders in our world. So I started out and go back to university days, started out, we all have dreams of doing something with our life. And I always enjoyed people. I knew back when I was 4 years old, I had a grandfather who was 106 years old. Just to give that into perspective, I was 5 years old when he passed away, and I had spent years with him in the nursing home in the summer, spending time with him. And the one thing that he did, I'm saying this story for a reason, because for me, I think we always have these people in our lives that inspire us to be greater. And for me, it was actually at 4 years old that I had this role model in my life who was 106. And even at 106, 105 years old, I can remember him sitting on his nursing home bed, writing letters to people in prison, people all over the world, to inspire them, to bring them, to show them that there's hope, to show them, that there's more out of life, to take them from the dark to the light. And people started sending him things. And eventually our family ended up creating an entire museum of thousands of artifacts that people had sent him in gratitude and thanks for helping him. And people he had never met, people that he didn't know, just people that he wanted to help. And for me, that's what I knew. At 4 years old, I was meant to help people. I was meant to make a difference in this world. And I ended up, like I said, we were very poor growing up. I didn't have money. We never traveled. We went to my uncle's house. That was our extent, which is the province over here in Canada. And we ended up, that was our holiday every summer for as far back as I can remember. And I was in university. I wanted to take psychology. A counselor told me, basically, if you want to be a psychologist, you're going to have to get your doctorate. At the time, I didn't really want to get my doctorate. So I decided to, I heard of a class in geography that I could leave the country for the first time. And I was 21 years old, in there somewhere, 1919, maybe even. And it was called the Geography of Jamaica. And for me, I really just wanted to experience the world, experience other people, experience other cultures, get to know a little bit more about, what I hadn't experienced up until this point in my life. So I ended up going on this trip. We learned about 2 professors were there with us. We got to study every part of the island, every part of the culture, the geography, every part that, exists in our world, in formations. And it was fascinating to me. I loved it. And I ended up getting a job doing GIS. I did not like it at all. I was in an office sitting there all day long. I was like, I cannot do this the rest of my life. This is not me, right? So I went back and ended up getting my honors in geology, graduating top of my class, winning all these awards. And this is where my journey started. I didn't realize that this is where my journey had started because I was awarded this SIFT. It was called the Student Industry Field Trip, where I was representative of our entire province at a national oil and petroleum conference here in Canada. One of the things with this is you got to study with the top CEO of $1 billion oil company right out of the gate. Got to go fly over the Rocky Mountains, learn how to be a geologist, learn about leadership, learn how to do presentations, every single thing about how you could be a good petroleum exploration geologist. As you mentioned, that's where I ended up. So I learned all these experiences, got to meet all these people, got a job right out of school with a global company, worked in the well site, actually worked on the field for a little while. Most people don't know that about me, but that was the hardest job I've ever been. And being a woman in a man's world also, it's always been positions where I've been the only woman in amongst, and for me, it's never bothered me, but I know there's a lot of women listening to this, that are probably in this similar situation to that. So just to tell people that, you're in that situation for a reason, because you're needed. Like, women are needed in the environment at leadership levels, on board levels, in executive positions, the top of Fortune 500 companies, and we're needed there. So this was the journey that I started on. In working with leaders. I got a job headhunted by a private company, worked there for a long time, loved it. The people were great. I liked the work I was doing. Like, we were making a great impact. We ended up selling that company in less than 3 years for over $150 million. Just all these amazing things. So by the time I was 25 years old, I had checked, we all have these visions and these things in our box. Like I used to call them, what was it called? Like your checklist, or your, the things you want to do before you die, right? And I had these checklists of the things I wanted to accomplish in my career. And I had, at 25 years old, I had checked off every single box that I thought I'd ever wanted to accomplish in my entire career. And I didn't know where to go. As many of us go through, we end up in jobs we don't love, things that we don't like, things that we're not feel fulfilled at. And that's what happened to me. I felt very unfulfilled. I was going home and I wasn't helping anybody, wasn't making that difference in the world. But I knew that there was something greater, right? I had people, saying there's something more. And I just didn't quite put that two and two together. And then one day I woke up, I couldn't even get out of bed. We all had these also rock bottom moments in our life, and pivotal moments that change our life forever. And this was this moment when I got sick. I felt like somebody was stabbing me in my side over and over again. And I had this moment of laying on my bathroom floor. Just imagine this for a moment. I was laying on the bathroom floor, 90 pounds, in the hospital every other day getting IV fluids. I'm not going to get into all the details, but it was the most rock bottom moment I've ever had. And I was laying there for a moment, and I didn't know if I was going to make it to tomorrow. I had no hope left. I didn't know how I was going to get there. Doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong. They'd done test after test after test. There was no answers. I had no answers. And for me, I heard the voice, and to me, it was the voice of God that was speaking to me, saying, you know what, these are the exact words that I heard. You're gonna get through this. Get your big girl pants back on. Stop playing victim. Stop feeling sorry for yourself, and get up. Like, get up now. That was the first thing I heard. Get up. Time to get up. Time to move forward. And we're gonna do this together. And we're going to make it to the other side. And you're going to help a lot of other people also do the same. So that moment, I share this story for a reason, because that moment changed my life forever. I started on a journey of getting better, working with people, realized, lots of people are out there, say they can help you, but you're only temporary help. And it was about, how can we really help people on the root cause to be able to help them move forward, to become that best version of ourselves that we can be. And I eventually had a miscarriage. I had my first child 2 weeks after my first son was born. Another rock bottom moment came where I got a call from my uncle, lived across the country from me, that my father had taken his life. And that was another moment in my life that looking back, it was so difficult. It was the first grandchild on both sides. It's supposed to be a happy, joyful time, as we have many times. You have ups and downs, peaks and valleys in our life. And this time for me was something that was so unexpected. I just seen my dad. I hadn't seen him in years. He was an alcoholic, a drug addict, wasn't really in my life. I just met him a month before when I was 8 months pregnant, excited about being a grandfather, these kind of things. And all of a sudden, couldn't get a hold of him, couldn't even show him a picture or show him anything about, he wouldn't answer his phone. And all of a sudden, he's gone. So, but for me, it turned out to be a great blessing, because I ended up getting to be on a board for coaching suicide awareness, helping youth. And it was actually in this moment, after I had my first son, I became a parenting coach, then a life coach, a business coach, a leadership trainer. All these things started evolving from there. And then I saw my journey of why I needed to be a geologist first, because I came back, the leadership, the CEO, the VP, the people I worked with as a geologist were some of the most phenomenal leaders I ever had the experience of being in the same room with. And we all go through that. We all have things, right? It's just how can we get it together, get it together to move forward, to become that best version of ourselves we can be, but also to be fulfilled and have knowing that you're living your purpose and you're making a difference in the world. So I ended up, working, speaking. I was a very shy child, extremely shy. Never dreamed I would ever be speaking in front of, thousands of people. Even 2 or 3 people would have caused me just to be, they'd be shaking in terror. And I realized it's all about being seen, right? It's about being seen, and not for ourselves, not for the glory, not for the fame, but for the people, and about the story and the message and the truth that we have to speak about the experiences we've gone through. Because it's through our stories, through our experiences, through the things that that happen in our life that are life-changing and transformative, that will last forever. And so that you can also pass down that wisdom to the next generations. So I'll stop there. I know we're going to continue and talk a little bit more about that as we go, but that's basically my story.
Thank you. And I can relate on that, not wanting to speak, but having a mission, having a message, having something burning so deep inside that you just have to get it out to people. And you do whatever it takes. And public speaking is one of the fastest, easiest ways to reach a lot of people quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And there needs to be more speakers that are out there that speak from the heart, right? That you can feel the emotions, you can see, that what they went through, that was something, and you can relate to, even if it's just one part of their story, even if it's just 10 words or 2 words that they say, that can have the potential to change their life forever. And that's powerful.
Exactly. So Jamaica was your first trip anywhere, out of the country even. Any special adventures you remember from going to Jamaica?
Oh my gosh, yes. There's too many to count, and some of them I don't know if I can share, but I'll share a few of them with you, because it was, oh my goodness, one of the most amazing experiences of my life. Going from, we ended up, if you heard, there's called these places in the world called bioluminescent lagoons, which is this algae at nighttime. If you go and swim in the water, and the activity of when you're moving lights these algae up. So it's like you're swimming in this beautiful, glowing pond. So that was one experience that we did. Another one actually was really interesting. It's one that came up very unexpectedly. And I want to share this story because many times in our life, things come up unexpected. And we don't know sometimes if we're going to, move forward, if we're going to go this way or this way. This path is given to us in front of us. And one of the professors said he was going to take us somewhere. He didn't tell us where we were going. And we ended up going to, it's the world famous Rick's Cafe. So I didn't even know what this was when we went there. This is how unworldly versed that I was up until this point. And so we get there, we're pulling up, and I thought, oh, what is this? Where are we going? He said, oh, it's just a place where you get to go see the sunset, right? In the West. He said, it's one of the most famous places in the world to go see these beautiful sunsets. So we get in there, we're walking in. I was like, oh, wow, this is a great new sun's starting to go down. We get out, we go in the back, and we get out in the back, and all of a sudden there's this big lineup of people. And in my mind, I'm thinking, what's happening? Why are they all lined up? And then we get out there and I go and see, and it's actually, so one of the reasons why this place is famous is because it has one of the most famous, first of all, sunsets, but second of all, is one of the most famous places to do cliff jumping in all of the world. So I see this and I thought, oh my gosh, when am I ever going to get an opportunity, to jump off a cliff again, right? And especially at a place where there's a sunset, all these beautiful things. So all the other people went down. I thought, I'm going to do it. Here, take my stuff. I've got my bathing suit on. I went and got in line, didn't even go down, just got in line. We're I'm going to do this, right? I'm going to regret it if I don't. And that's another thing, right? The whole other thing is think about things that you go through and ask yourself, will you regret it later on? Yes or no? And always move towards those answers, towards living your life with no regrets. So for me, even at that young of age, I would always ask myself, would I regret it if I didn't get in line and I didn't jump off this cliff? And I guess the answer, you could go both ways, because if you didn't actually end up making it through, you would probably regret it. But I made it through. And so I went and I got in the line. I was up there and I didn't even look down. I went, ran, and jumped off this cliff. And just to give you perspective, this is like 50, 75 feet up in the air, massive cliff, right? Straight down, right into the Caribbean waters, beautiful blue water. Jump, I come down, I'm like, oh my gosh, free falling into the water, hit the water. It's like, oh, it's amazing. So exciting, right? I'm gonna do it again, right? I'm gonna go do it again without even thinking. Didn't sit down there, didn't watch anything else that was going on. Went right back up to the top and I did it again. Without thinking, again, without thinking. Oh, that was awesome. Gonna do it again. Get in line, do the same thing, run, jump. This time I was falling. I felt something wasn't right. I was falling. I felt, you get that gut instinct, something's not right. That's what I felt. I thought, oh my goodness, like something's not right this time. It doesn't feel like the first time. And I fell and I hit the water, and I hit the water at an angle. So anybody who's ever actually done any diving or any type of water sports, if you hit the water wrong, even if it's just a little bit of an angle, it can cause you to. So I hit the water and I ended up almost knocking myself out, lost my wind, ended up having to barely make it to the shore because I was so winded. And then I sat there and I was so thankful for the experience, but so thankful that I was actually alive. And as I sat there, I saw all these people coming out with broken bones and all these things. So I didn't understand the consequences sometimes of what I was actually doing. But at the time, I was like, oh yeah, I still would have regretted. I don't regret anything I've done in my life. And I still don't regret doing that because of the experience, and the experience I get to share with you guys here for the very first time. I've never shared that story with anybody. And I had pictures taken. I have all these things, memories that I have of making through this, and, living your life with no regrets. And sometimes things don't go as planned, and that's okay, right? You just do your best to make through it and keep moving forward, get it together, keep moving forward, and continue to do the things that bring you joy, that make you happy, that are going to, make that impact in the world. And even just watching, like, people are cheering you on this side. So it was a very interesting, exciting experience that I'll never forget. And again, like I said, there's lessons to be learned in everything we go through in life.
Exactly. And it's funny how, as we get older, in some ways we have more fears. Children just jump out. They jump up, they climb things, they grab things, they don't even think. They're just going for what they want or doing what they want. and even as, in that age group in 20s, you're still thinking you're pretty resilient, right? And then as we get older, we kind of like pull back, and that's one of the things I work on every day, is just trying to do something new or experiencing something new, and not trying to think in the adult mind so much of, is it safe? Is it, you have to consider those things, but still not hold back as much.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like we go back to like when we are children, between the ages of 0 and 7 years old. That's where our belief systems are formed. So you think of the things that went down. And I'll give some examples in my own life, because having a father who left when I was 6 months old as a baby, left my mom and I, and it was something I didn't even realize had affected me because I was a baby, until I got sick and I realized I had all of these belief systems. One of them being, I'm not good enough, right? I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough for my own father to stay in my life. Like, I'm not good enough for anything. I'm worthless. What's the point of even being here? And it was this point I remember having, where you do doubt, and you do hear, the lies and the voices inside your head that tell you, who do you think you are to do that? And who do you think you are to be, a speaker when you were shy, when you're little, or write a book when you have 4 kids? You have no time, right? You're never going to do that, which is, it's lies, and they're not true. And that's one thing I learned about going through what I did, was these belief systems that are there. And for me, it was about achieving more, getting more, having more accolades after my name, walking, talking, dressing, becoming almost like a masculine feminine in a man's world to try and fit in. It's almost like I had to become part of me had to become a man and act like a man to be accepted by men in the men's world. And I believe, like, I want to really speak to that, because we as women don't need to dim our femininity and our light in this world to fit in. We can be exactly the way that we want. Another story, I think I've only shared this once before, but I actually had a miscarriage at work. One time, my first baby, and I had pain. I didn't know what was going on, went to the bathroom, and I did not know what to do. I was so programmed by society that I need to do whatever it takes. You know how so many men are very driven, and I was also very driven, right? I've always been very passionate about what I did, and I always wanted to do well, you know, with excellence and integrity and honesty and all these things that are really important to me. And I thought, you know, I can't let my team down. So I went right after that happened, went back to work, and I didn't go home, didn't tell anybody. I didn't feel like I had that space to even come up and say, hey, you know what? I just lost my child. Yeah. And I didn't give myself that time to really even feel what had happened, because I was so programmed by what I needed to do versus just being in that moment and grieving. And it wasn't for maybe a year later where I actually stood back and stepped back and realized, you know, hey, I just lost my baby. I just lost my baby. And I know there's a lot of other women. I spoke out, you know, privately with many people one-on-one, and there's many people, many women in particular, who've lost children and have done the same thing, right? Just kept moving forward and not acknowledge that. So I just want to acknowledge everybody who's listening that, you know, they've gone through that situation. I know what you're going through, you know, whatever it is you're going through, not only that situation, but you're not alone. You're loved, and you're here for a reason. You're here for a purpose. That was the first book I was guided to write. It was called Uncover Your Purpose, Heal and Share Your Gifts with the World. And I thought, I can't write a book. I don't have time. I have nothing to say. What would I say? What would I write a book about? And all of a sudden I kept thinking, well, I've worked with clients, and I worked with people, amazing people from around the world that I've seen their lives transformed. And I myself have gone from being a geologist to living my dreams and living my purpose. So I realized that there's much more that's inside of you, that potential, that greatness that lives inside of you, than what most people recognize is there. It's a matter of unleashing it, a matter of having the awareness that it's there first, so that you can step into it and shine your light bright, so that also other people can do the same. And there will be people that are triggered. There will be people that are triggered by your light, by your success, by your accolades, all these things. But it's not about that. It's about shining your light so that other people can also do the same in their life. And it might trigger them. And I look at that as a blessing. It is a blessing. It is not a curse if people are triggered by your light and by what you're doing in this world, because it allows them to see the truth and to heal from their past and the traumas and the pain and the suffering and the loss and all these things that are not talked about. Allows them to really let those things go so that they can live that life of their dreams.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that, because I think a lot of us do dim our lights because of, you know, other people around us or certain situations we're in, and especially women, you know, especially if they're in a situation like you were, you know, where you're in a man's world and still trying to have your masculine and your feminine balance there, not just go all in one direction.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. There's so much to be said about that, right? You could go on and on and on, just talking about, you know, stepping up, being ourselves, you know, not necessarily. And that's the other thing too. One of the things that I struggled with, and again, we're having an open, transparent conversation here. So I just want to share the things that I've gone through in the struggles. The biggest thing that I struggled with, especially with being shy, was being seen, being fully seen for who I really am. And I can't tell you how much I struggled with that. You know, I turned down award after award after award after award, because I said, you know what? I don't want to be that person that says, hey, look at me. Hey, look at me. Look what I've done. Look what I've accomplished. And when I started out, people, oh my gosh, you need to be recognized. I said, no, you know what? I'm good. I do not need this. But the more that I moved forward, the more I stepped into my light, the more I said, yes. You know what? Yes. Because by me saying yes, it allows other women to say yes, to receive that into their own life and fully receive. And I always say, like, the front part of our heart is our giving part of our heart. The backside of our heart is our receiving part of our heart. As women in general, most of us have the backside of our receiving heart closed off somewhat because of what we're given and projected in society. You know, as women, we need to give. As women, we need to sacrifice. As women, we need to do all these things that sometimes aren't in alignment with who we really are. And it's about checking everything that comes in, whether it's an award, whether it's a friendship, whether it's acquaintance, whether it's a partnership, whether it's a client, whether it's a life partner, checking in with yourself first. Like, what is your mission statement for yourself? Not just your business, for yourself. What values, what morals do you have? And then taking whatever it is that comes into your life and checking it. Go with like the checklist I told you when I was a geologist, I went through. I do this with every single thing in my life as I bring this checklist. And if every single one of them are checked and there's zero doubt, if it's not 100%, even if it's 99.99999%, it is a no to me. It has to be 100%. Yes, with 100% certainty. That's in alignment with who I am, because otherwise you're sacrificing yourself. You're sacrificing who you are for somebody else. And over time, that's going to create an imbalance in your life, and you're going to create an imbalance in their life. And I always want to be that person that you can step into all of who you are, honor all of your morals, your values, what you represent in the world, so that other people can also do the same. And so they can show up to be that for themselves in whatever relationship or capacity is meant to be.
I love that distinction of the 100%, not 99. So that is awesome. So I'm just wondering, since you have accomplished a lot of things, and it sounds to me like even starting in high school and maybe before, you've also always kind of been at the top of your class, or you've really accomplished a lot of things. So are there any things that you do every day that get you ready for the day, or you do every night to just get you ready before you go to sleep? Any certain things you do to like organize your day so that it all flows?
Yeah, yes, there is. And I actually have done a lot of studies on people who are billionaires, millionaires, people who run Fortune 500 companies. Having the psychology background, and I also have my NLP certification. It's always been fascinating to me to learn about human behavior and psychology, and the things that allow us to grow and become and evolve to be a successful leader in life. And one of the things I came across in my research was, and I'm sure people have heard this before, but is a morning routine. Starting your day out in quiet reflection with yourself. And the leaders I've worked with and spoken to from around the world, doesn't matter what country they're in, what background they're from, the thing they struggle with the most is silence, and just being in time, having time in silence, in reflection with themselves, even if it's just 5 minutes. Some people there's such an uncomfortableness that lies in the silence. So I would say for me, the biggest thing has been, when I got sick, I made that promise to start out my day in prayer and meditation. For me, spending time with God, right? That was really important for me moving forward. I made that promise, that commitment, that covenant with myself, that I would spend that time in the morning. I usually spend anywhere from half an hour to an hour and a half, depending what time I wake up and how much time I have before my kids are up. But yeah, and I wake up in prayer and meditation and silence, and I just listen. So for me, I just listen, and I ask I get thankful for all the things in our world, the littlest things down to, I heard this the other day and I thought it was brilliant, the attitude of gratitude, writing things that you're grateful for. But the thing I started just last week, this is very new to me, was thanking the person who made the glass that enabled me to allow me to drink water. So I didn't have to drink it out of my hands. Like so many of the people in the world have to drink water out of their hands. They don't even have a glass to drink water out of. So thinking of things, maybe that creativity that leads to innovation, that leads to all these other things. Like, how can you think creatively, even to be grateful for the things maybe that nobody else has thought about before, right? Like the person who made the glass that you're drinking the water out of today, that we need water water is living water. That's what, without water, we will not survive. Our body is made up of over 80% water. If we have no water, we will not sustain, we will not live. I think it's like not for more than a couple days without water. So the first part of my morning routine, again, is this silence. And I ask for three things that I can do, three things of priority, my purpose for that day. What are the three things I need to focus on and listen intently? No matter how big, no matter how small they are, I make sure, again, to check them off by the time I go to bed. It doesn't matter what time or when I do them throughout the day. It might be something as simple as reaching out to somebody. And my one time, I actually heard somebody's name I hadn't talked to in over 20 years. And I heard I needed to reach out to them. Ended up sending them a message and a text saying, how's it going? You know, I haven't heard from you for a while. Just wanted to let you know I'm thinking about you. Your name just popped up this morning in my prayer and meditation. How are things going? And they actually sent me a message back saying, I can't believe you just messaged me right now, right here in this moment, because they were having a very difficult time. And they said they were just praying for somebody to come to help them. I didn't find out till about 2 years later that that person in that moment was contemplating suicide and had a hand of pills in there right in front of them. And it was that moment reaching out to them.
That just, makes my heart, squeezes my heart. That is, wow.
Yeah. And so we just never know, right?
Power of, prayer and listening and being open and willing to obey when you hear it.
Exactly. And you might save somebody's life in the process, right? To trust that intuition that you have, my folks, my wonderful people who are here listening today. Trust your intuition, trust that gut feeling you have. You're given that for a reason. There's a reason why things come up. It's not your mind. You're not making it up. It's, if it's positive, it's something good, right? Obviously, if it's the lies we talked about, the belief systems, let those go. Don't focus on those. But the things that you're hearing in prayer and meditation, when you're in alignment and you're grounded, are the things you really want to focus on. And it might be somebody's life that's at stake if you don't take that action. I just can't help think, what would happen what would have happened if I hadn't have reached out to that person in that exact moment? Like, you just never know, right? The consequences. So the first part is listen, the 3 things in a day. Second part is doing some sort of physical activity. And then the third part, like even if it's planks, I usually do planks or push-ups or something, even just, I don't know, for 5 minutes or something. It doesn't have to be a long time, but it can change your entire life and your physique. And then the third thing is learning something new, whether it's on a podcast, whether it's, reading, 30 pages out of a book that you really like. Those are the 3 things that I've done, and the 3 things that I've done now for over 15 years. And I give every single part of what has happened, every opportunity that has come my way, anything has come from this quiet reflection, because I've gotten clarity as to what that was and what needed to happen, not only for that day, but moving forward in the visions that you're given and where you're going, because it's so important to have that vision. It's great to know where you're going and take action today, but where are we going in the future? What does that look like? How am I going to take steps towards that? Baby steps, right? Don't have to be big steps, baby steps towards that every single day.
Wow. So you have been working on something big that you're just launching, your global movement of hope. Why don't you tell us about that? I'm very excited to hear about this.
I would absolutely love to. And thank you for asking about that. I'm very excited about this. This entire vision. And again, we're talking about quiet meditation time. This is a perfect example of something that came from a vision that is now made into reality because of the actions that were taken. And I had a vision in August of 2021, just a few months ago, just over 6 months ago, just to give you a perspective as to when this vision was given and how short of a time it's actually been since this happened. I had a vision and I heard the words, the global movement of hope was the name. And I thought, that's so interesting. Why is this name being given to me? And I heard, go look up the domain name was the first thing. And again, my first thought, which is our ego, which is usually things that try to sabotage because it's outside of our comfort zone, comes in and says, there's no way that's going to be available. Don't even bother looking that up. And I went and looked it up. I didn't listen to that voice, guys. I'm just curious. I need to know. I need to know if it's available. Went and looked, and I was shocked. Dr. Kimberley, I was shocked that it was actually available. The globalmovementofhope.com, globalmovementofhope.com, both of them, .org, .ca. I got all of them, and I didn't know why I was getting them. I just got them, and then I let it go. So this is a perfect example of certain things. You might see visions of things, but the more we try and control and move towards it, the more we repel it and push it away from us. So that's another lesson I'd like to share with everybody. No matter what it is you're going through, surrender and trust the process and let go of all of the control in every area of your life. I thought I was many times throughout my career, throughout my life, I thought I had surrendered. And then something will come up and challenge me in another area and say, no, that's great. You surrendered over here, but you know what, you really haven't over here. You're still trying to hang on to what that looks like and your outcome versus it's not our outcome. It's, there's so much more sometimes that are meant to happen than what we think. So I always pray for that, pray for something to happen and according to alignment with who I am, but also something better, something greater than what I can even see a vision of, to leave it open. We don't want to have the glass ceiling. We want to shatter the glass ceiling once and for all and allow it to become something as big, as great, to help as many people as possible by serving others. So I saw this vision and then I kind of, like I said, let it go and surrendered and just said, you know what, this came up for a reason. As I'm a full believer, there's no coincidences in life. Everything happens for a reason. So in the days to follow in my meditation and prayer practice, I saw these visions of all of the people. And at that time, I saw millions of people who were going to be impacted by this global movement of hope. I heard millions. And right away, I thought, oh my gosh, like it kind of, when you hear certain things, sometimes it's triggering to ourselves, which shows me there's somewhere that needs to be healed. And for me, it was about being seen, right? Like I mentioned before, I had this fear of being seen. And by being seen by a lot of people, that's scary for some people, right? Because you're going from being here to way up here, that seems like almost in an instant. So I had to take some time to spend with that. And as I sat with it, I finally, got into alignment and said, you know what? I'm going to do this and I'm going to make this happen. And I'm not going to do it by myself. They started telling people, hey, I had this vision. Any idea, like, why it's coming up? Would you like to be involved? Do you see something? And I started seeing visions of all these things that needed to happen. The first thing being a geologist that I did was go back and do research. I did research. I thought, you know what? I heard this. I'm going to go back. I'm going to research everything I can find about hope organizations, hope movements, hope, educational institutions in the world. So there's three things that set this movement apart from every other movement that's in the world. This is one of them. The first thing that I found was that all organizations, 99.999% of organizations out there that had the word hope affiliated with them were predominantly Christian organizations. They were not all-inclusive organizations for all people. And I was shocked at the fact that there was no organizations that dealt with hope that were for all people. And the vision I was given in my meditation was all about, I don't know if you saw the Trolls movie. Have you seen the Trolls movie, that cartoon? Yeah. So it's like this vision I kept hearing and seeing of these little trolls. It's like, no troll will be left behind. And it's like, no person will be left out, right? This was his vision. No person will be left out. All people are deserving of love and care and to be part of a community and part of this sense of belongingness. So that was number one. So part one of three. So that was part one. Part two, my name, Nadene, actually means hope. And there was alignment in that right away. So hope, it means my first name. Joy is my middle name. It's my mom's name. Everybody asks that, oh my gosh, how did you get Joy as the last name? But it's actually my mom's name. So my mission and my purpose, I was shown in this moment with this global movement of hope, was to bring hope and to bring joy into our world in ways that nobody else had through this movement, by bringing together, and I'm going to call it our tribe of people of light that needed to happen. I'll share a little bit more about that in a second. And the third thing was about redefining the word, the meaning, the perception of hope itself, because of how we've been programmed by society to think of hope as being in the future, as outside of ourselves, versus something in the moment, which I was told is all about hope now. Hope now. And it's through actionable hope. This is another term I was given in meditation that it was representative of this movement. Through actionable hope and the actions that we take, that changes lives. And I heard a quote. This is a quote, again, came from me in my prayer meditation, but it said, hope without action is like fire without fuel. So without the action, the hope does not exist. The hope isn't there. We have, all these times people get knocked down. Their hope is lost. They have false hope. They think, what's the point of hoping? What's the point of hoping anymore? It's just going to get knocked down anyways. To these people, I say, today is your day to change your life, to take an action forward, to make the difference. And it's the first step that's the hardest. But I can tell you, when I was laying on my bathroom floor and I heard, you're going to do this, get up now. That was my first step. That was my first action. The actionable hope in my life was just get up off the bathroom floor, just stand up, right? It can be something as simple as that. Taking actionable hope is something that is needed in our world. all over the world, no matter who you are, no matter background you're from, what religion you're from, what age you are. You can be a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 92-year-old. We all need hope. We all need hope. Hope is the breath of life. Hope is what sustains us, motivates us, allows us to move forward, gives us the drive to know that there's something greater that we can accomplish, to live our life with no regrets. All of these things. So those are the 3 things that I saw. And as we continued moving forward, people started coming on board, politicians, former politicians. There's a lady that joined our team as one of our directors of hope in South Africa, who is a former politician. People that are, lady that's the head of the London Stock Exchange, and she's now in Israel. A gentleman who's our vice chair now, who is in Pakistan. He's wrote a book on democracy and involved in government affairs. All of these amazing people. And the one thing I forgot to mention, I'm going to go back for a second, was the balance that this needed to be created between the masculine and the feminine in our world. So even starting at our foundational level of our board, we needed to have equality. Equality is extremely important to me. So we have right now 8 people on our board. 4 of them are men, 4 of them are women. And as we continue to move forward, creating balance, creating equality, creating, sustainability amongst people, communities, nations, bringing people together, uniting this human connectedness through community is our vision. And we have so many other visions. I can go on. We partnered with the Canadian Mental Health Association just the other day. Amazing partners, so many things in talks with amazing people. We have a University of Hope that we're looking at creating in Canada as the first university and micro city of hope. Certified Listeners of Hope program that came about because my mom just retired or is in the process of retiring. She's 70 years old and didn't have a purpose. And I think as Les Brown always says, there's after we retire, the next 2 years that are so crucial, and our health usually deteriorates, and many people end up losing their life, not because of their health, but because of lack of hope and lack of purpose that in their life. And I thought, what a great thing if we can create a program where people that are going through a bad day, whether it's burning something on the stove or, somebody that they had lost that's close to them, but having this platform where people can call in just to talk, just to get it outside of themselves. So it's not festering and making them sick over time. And the people can listen, and it's bringing hope for the person that's listening because they know they're helping, and also the person that's coming for help because they're actually getting help and having somebody listen to them. So it's a win-win for everybody. We have so many other visions. There's so many other things in the works. FedEx program of hope, sending boxes of hope to people. I could go on and on and on. I think we have like 24 different pillars of hope, ambassadors of hope. We're looking for ambassadors who have specific areas, maybe things they've gone through in their own life where they can help bring hope to. So that's where we're at right now. We just launched just yesterday, actually, and this is the date.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. February 22nd, 2022, the 22222 day in history was the day that I was given that needed to be launched. First International Day of Hope. And there's so many things just in Canada with the Freedom Convoy. And just yesterday, I have to share this with you because this is so new. I heard, so they had an emergency act. Trudeau, our premier of our entire country, came out with this emergency act about a week ago. And yesterday, it was lifted. Yesterday, they said, you know what? It is no more. It is kibosh. There's no more emergency act in Canada, which would have had, ramifications beyond our control for many, many years to come. I can't help but think that there's, again, no coincidence in life that we launched this, that happened, that all these other things in our world, we're beginning to move towards the light. The light is closer than what you think. If you just open, you take a moment to recognize and notice the things around you, the little things, right? Being grateful for, even something as, yes, the Emergency Act is now no more. That's a huge step forward, not only for our nation, but to set the precedence for the rest of the world to move forward.
Exactly. Congratulations. That is so exciting. So I'm sure there's people who would like to get involved with what you're doing. How do people connect with you? Do you want to share any thing besides your global movement of hope? Do you want to share anything else, any services or anything that you provide for people? Or go ahead and just tell us those things.
Absolutely. So we do have our website up now for the global movement. It's just www.globalmovementofhope.com. And then I also have my website, just NadeneJoy.com. I'm probably on LinkedIn the most if people want to, reach out to me on LinkedIn, or you can send me an email just at Nadene@NadeneJoy.com. The thing I've actually been working with people, and like I said, I work with leaders, I've worked with business owners, startups, helping businesses grow, expand across the world, and amazing stories that I've had with that. But the thing I'm noticing right now that's needed the most, and when I say leaders, I mean everybody, because we all have the ability to impact lives, whether we're a mom or a CEO or a president of an entire nation. The thing that keeps coming up that a lot of people are struggling with right now is, where do they fit in this world? Many people aren't enjoying their work anymore. There's been a shift in their workplace. What does that look like? And their purpose, right? What is our purpose, and how do we move towards that, and how do we be fulfilled at the end of the day and continue to boldly and courageously live our dreams and not allow fear to creep in? Some of you might have heard, like, fear is just false evidence appearing real. It's not even, or facing everything and rising is the definition that I really like, right? How can you face everything head on, get going and take action and move forward? So these are the things, like, they almost like the healing of our past and what we've gone through that creates blockages inside of us from really being able to step into our full potential. So I work with clients with sessions. Every session we work on is different. I have many high-level clients. I also have people that I work with from all walks of life. I have, a few homeless people I'm working on right now. They just actually, right before Christmas, I had one of my clients. I've been working with her for 3 years, and she was on the verge of being homeless. Both her and her daughter were sick in the hospital, next thing to death. And we ended up 2 days later, both of them ended up getting in a women's shelter in New York, right outside of New York in Brooklyn. And just right before Christmas, and this is the best Christmas present I could have ever asked for from anybody, she sent me a text saying, Nadene, you'll never guess what just happened. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is it? And she said that they received their cards, I forget, coupons, or I forget their specific name, I'm drawing a blank right now, that they were able to transition out of the homeless shelter into an apartment of their own for the very first time in their life. And to me, that, like, those kind of stories, to me, that's what life is about, right? How can we help people move from where they are to where they not only want to go, but where they need to go? Because if you're not stepping into all of who you are, you're doing a disservice to everybody else out there in the world who needs your gifts and your stories and your experiences, especially right now here in history. So I work with people one-on-one, with clients, with groups. Again, you can reach out to us. And if you want to be involved in this as an ambassador, as a person writing blogs, articles for this movement, we just want everybody to be involved. Like we said, no person is left behind. No matter what it is that I do, everybody is my family, is a part of this. So you come on, be a part of our family of hope. And we're really just excited to get more messages, more quotes, more stories. We really want to hear stories of hope. That's our focus moving forward right now. So if you have a story that you'd like to share of overcoming, how you got through difficulties, reach out to us. We want to share it on all of our social media. We also have a publishing company we just started. So if you're looking at getting published as an international best-selling author, we're open. We have our next book that we have open spots right now. We'd love to have a conversation with you and then feature you in anything to get that word and get your truth and your story out into the universe right now. So needed. Thank you so much.
Yes. So exciting. So exciting and so needed, like you said. So I want to ask you a personal question. What gives you the most happiness and fulfillment in your life at this point?
Yeah, I would say, and there's a lot of things, like there's a lot of answers to that, but if I was to pick one thing, it would be the ability to, to have the courage, and had the courage, and every day choosing courage to be able to show up authentically and vulnerably as 100% who I am in the world, so that I can help people. And seeing people transform their lives is what brings me the greatest fulfillment. Talking to people every day. I could talk to people every day, 24 hours a day, all day long. Like what I do, and this is what my great grandfather said. He said, he's like, Nadene, I never worked a day in my life. And that's what I feel like right now that I do. I'm so passionate. I love what I do. It doesn't feel like work to me. It feels like this is what I was meant to be here on the earth to do, to help people, period.
Thank you. And can I ask you your definition of vulnerability? Because I've heard different people speak on that. So when you're talking about that, there's vulnerability we have with like our family or our close friends, but then there's a vulnerability. I can't say the word vulnerability we have even in, in business or in our workplace. So what does it mean to you?
Yeah, so vulnerability to me means like being and having the ability to show up and to not be afraid to be yourself and step into that. And I know right now we just got through the masks, right? Wearing masks all over. And to me, it was representative of stifling our voice. So when we're vulnerable, it comes through our voice first, right? And our actions that we have. So if we are able to, say for example, just to give an example, a CEO of a company, right? If he goes to work and how he shows up first, what he talks about, if he's openly, displaying certain struggles he's going through in his life, it allows other people to also do the same versus somebody that is a CEO or a leader that shows up and is very, stone faced, doesn't really show emotion, isn't really stepping into their truth of who they are because they're afraid that people are going to judge them or not like them or not follow them or, not be a part of their friend circle, for whatever reason. People have so many reasons to justify the facade and the illusion of wearing the mask that it keeps them from being vulnerable in society in any way, whether that's with their family, with their business, with people they know, with people they don't know, right? Sometimes it's being vulnerable with people you just met and you don't even know them because you share something from your heart. And that's what it is, heart-centered, communications that allows this vulnerability and authenticity to open up like nothing else. And when we share that, it allows other people to also do the same.
All right. Well, thank you. And thank you for being on the podcast today and sharing all your wisdom and, just some of the distinctions you made make a huge difference. Like, thanking the person who made the glass that you're drinking the water out of.
Exactly, right?
I'm gonna practice that one for sure.
Great. I love it. I love it. It's just the little things, right? Just the little things in life that make a big difference in what we do and teaching other people and bringing that awareness to them too.
Exactly. So I have one last question before we finish. What is your best advice on living an incredible, amazing life?
Oh, that's a loaded question, Dr. Kimberly. Oh, being the best life. I would say find out who you are first. Find out who you are, truly are, right? Who is Dr. Kimberly? Who is Nadene Joy? Behind all of it, like at the end of the day, when you go to bed at night, who really are you? And ask the question. And this is one of the things I do with my clients. Ask yourself, who am I? And sit down and write whatever comes up on filter without thinking. First things that come to your mind, right? And think back, who you were as a child. What did that look like? And how is that either congruent or uncongruent with how the way you show up now in the world? Because most times, like you mentioned earlier, when we're children, we just do things. We don't think about it, right? We have this sense of uncensoredness in the world that we don't care about what anybody else thinks. And I think that's for me. And I used to be a person, a people pleaser, right? Very much concerned with what everybody thought of me till I got to the realization that, it doesn't matter what anybody thinks. At the end of the day, if you're in your truth and you're speaking from your heart and you're showing up to the very best ability that you can, and you are doing what's good enough without perfection, because perfection is just an illusion. I was a perfectionist. I tried to be a perfectionist. It failed miserably. So allow the letting go and surrendering every single day into becoming who you truly are. And but by knowing who you are, you're able to step into that to help other people also do the same.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Nadene. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you very much.